Hi, I'm Jim Shroyer. Welcome to That's My Farm. And we're in luck, folks, because we're in northwest Kansas. That's one reason. 2, we're in Wallace County. And 3, we're on the My Farm, just south of Sharon Springs. And I don't want you to go away. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
So, and we have with us Bill Mai, who's been farming just a couple years, haven't you, Bill?
A couple of years, several times over.
Several times over. Okay. So, Bill, tell us a little bit about how the farm got started, and then a little bit about our cropping rotations, because I'm going to ask you more questions a little later. So,
okay.
Tell us a little bit how the farm got started.
Well, my folks moved here from Greeley County in 1936 after they'd moved to Greeley County from Trego County in 1935. And the Dust Bowl of the
times were pretty tough then.
35 just blew them out in northwest Greeley County, and luckily they found a tenant who would take us in 1936.
So you've been farming southeast of Sharon Springs since 1936.
I was born there at that time, on that place, and still live there.
And you were growing what variety back then?
Turkey.
Turkey red. But you were telling me earlier, by 42, you were growing early black hull.
Early black hull.
Yes. And that was a heck of a variety.
It was a big improvement over Turkey.
Yeah. It stood a little bit better, but maybe a smidgen better.
Well, it just plainly had better heads and had a better everything was better about it.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a kind of a pretty old variety, pretty wise anyway.
Yes,
So they've been farming the family farm since 1936. Well, talk a little bit about obviously rotations. Then were wheat fallow.
Wheat fallow, wheat, and then they plant a little milo and feed.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the rotations now.
Okay, now since 1985 we started a rotation of planting after wheat. We plant the following spring we plant corn, and then we fallow that, and then plant wheat again. So it's a 3-year rotation.
2 crops in 3 years.
2 crops in 3 years.
So are we doing more no-till? You've got a little tillage in this operation as well, but talk a little bit about your tillage.
Yeah, the no-tillage starts after the wheat crop. We no-till that into corn in the spring, no-till that all through the corn harvest, and then in the middle of the summer, we do spray the corn stubble, and then in the middle of the summer we do our first tillage.
Okay. What do you use?
It's a sweep machine.
Okay.
5-foot sweep machine.
Okay. Right.
And then that's the first operation about the middle of July normally, and then in August we put on anhydrous ammonia with a sweep machine, and then we do try to do a third tillage after we hope to get a good rain at the end of August or 1st of September to get one more tillage for weed kill, final weed kill.
Right. Yeah, that really takes care of that. Well, we hope it takes care of that in any type of weeds volunteer. I guess you're not going to have any volunteer weed after corn, so to speak. So, Bill, we've got to take a break, and folks at home, stay there. We have after a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
This hog is Hanover hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Hi, I'm Deb Beisel, and when I'm not filming around Kansas, I'm the historian in residence here at Historic Topeka Cemetery. Now, one of my favorite episodes, of course, was on the cemetery here. And you know what? If you miss seeing that, you can go back and watch it anytime. All those great episodes of Around Kansas are archived on our website. So if you'll go to agaminkansas.com Click on Around Kansas and you'll find all your favorite spots. So if you happen to miss one, like this one on the cemetery, or if there's just one you want to watch over and over again, or share with your friends, share with some of the people who might have been featured there, feel free to do that. And in the meantime, come out to Topeka and visit me in this lovely historic spot. I look forward to seeing you.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and we're on the Bill My Farm. We have Bill talking to us right now, and he gave us a little history of how the farm got started and a little bit about rotations. Let's kind of home in on wheat in this rotations. Let's talk a little bit more about how you get the ground ready and what kind of varieties you're looking at, seeding rates, and maybe a little bit about fertility. So take us to planting time on wheat. When do you like to get started planting wheat?
Well, we like to plant between the 15th of September and the 1st of October.
Okay.
And if we plant everything in one day, it'd be the 25th of September.
That's the target. That's the magic date, isn't it? Okay, good. Okay, so you've got a couple of week range there. You really start seeing yields fall off and just poor tillering much after October.
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of seeding rates are we talking about?
We used to do about 30 pounds the acre, and over the years we've upped that to about 35 and 40.
So,
depending a little bit on the kind of fall we've had.
Okay. Use a seed treatment or anything like
No,
that?
no
seed treatment.
No.
So you're pushing 40, 45 pounds.
This
okay.
this year last fall we did 40 pounds on most of
Okay.
it.
So that's about. I'm just thinking. Use my math real quick. That's only 550, 600,000. Top end as far as the number of seeds planted
Yes.
planted per acre. So do you worry about planting too light and getting too much tillering, or is that about the same thought process of planting a little bit higher and a little bit later to suppress tillering? You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Going with that?
Yeah. Well, part of the reason that we plant the way we do and not higher rates is if we use a deep furrow drill.
A hoe drill.
A hoe drill.
Right.
And that does a little better job of allowing tillering to take place because the wheat is protected down in that furrow.
In that little furrow.
Yeah.
Right.
So in the wintertime, if you get a little skiff of snow and it gets cold, it's got some protection. So you have less likelihood of loss of tillering through the winter.
Winter damage and
Yes,
that sort of
winter
thing.
damage.
So have you looked at the possibility of higher seeding rates, or there's no real reason because
No.
you don't think seeding rate is holding back your yields?
No. And there may be years where it would, but there may be years where a higher seeding rate might go against you. Now we have in the past seeded when a variety was brand new.
Spanking new.
Yeah, like when Jagger came out, we were limited to 6 bushels, and we planted 40 acres out of that 6 bushels.
That's
And,
pretty
and,
thin.
and we had a hail loss and still made 40 bushels the acre.
So it can yield pretty well if
Yes.
it gets that tillering.
Yeah.
So real quickly here, what kind of fertility program are you looking at? Do you use a starter? I'm sure you base it off a soil test, but do you use a starter, and what?
In the early years when we started the rotation back in the 80s, we used a starter on the corn, and we found out that from our experience it didn't benefit us. And so over the long term we've just watched protein in the wheat, and we've ended up with about 50 pounds of N on the wheat only. We don't fertilize the corn at all.
Right. Really? Okay.
We just use carryover nitrogen from the wheat.
For whatever's left over for the wheat.
For the corn, and we've had good luck with that. And it also means that it's a low cost growth.
Right.
We may not get as high yields, but we're guaranteed as much a low yield in the bad years
Right.
because we don't try to push it.
Right. Well, you mentioned corn. We'll go to corn here in just a second. We've got to take a word here, so don't go away.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
You folks at home, don't go away. We'll be right back.
American innovation is being driven in places you might not expect by people like Brent Hayek, an Oklahoma family farmer, who recently set a world land speed record in a Ford Super Duty pickup truck powered by renewable B20 biodiesel. Advanced performance is here, now, putting America on the fast track to more jobs and energy independence. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Farming is a tough business. With harvest looming, make the decision to rent your combine from Machinery Link. Machinery Link provides late model John Deere and Case IH combines delivered to your field on time, guaranteed. Machinery Link handles the cost of repairs, maintenance, and the other hassles that go with owning a combine, allowing you to focus your time and money on more important things. Don't miss your opportunity to reap the rewards that other Kansas farmers are already experiencing. Call today.
National Bank Ag Professional. You'll be in good company. They'll help you track expense lines, manage variable input costs, assess ground agreements, pick a crop protection plan. These times demand ag professionals. Central National Bank. You could profit from what they know. Ag operations run better on Central Time.
Central National Bank, money for life.
Member FDIC in your hometown since 1884.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and we're on the Bill My Farm just southeast of Sharon Springs in Wallace County. Bill, thanks for not running off during that break.
Yeah.
So tell me, we've talked a little bit about wheat, what your kind of thought processes there. So let's talk about corn in this the wheat row crop fallow system that you have. So how do you plant your corn? Is it no-till in the wheat stubble? And then let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's no-till into the wheat stubble, and we've done plant population studies over the years, anywhere from 8,000 up to 16,000. And
you're not making the seed corn companies any money on this 8,000 plants per acre.
But we're wanting to make money for ourselves.
Sure.
But we used to, when we started out in the late 80s, we were planting 10,000 and having good luck with that. And then we upped it through the experiments that we were doing, population studies. We ended up at 12,000 as being 12,000 seeds in the ground, 12 or 13. And because we can't outguess Mother Nature.
Especially in this neck of the woods.
Yes, we just stick with that, and if the year is dry, we end up with a pretty fair yield. And if the year is wet, we may not do as well as we could otherwise. But we need the corn worse in the dry year than we need the extra bushels in the wet year.
Right.
So it's kind of a long term the way we look at it.
So you're not really trying to shoot for those really top yields every year, because you have long-term drought out here.
Yeah.
So what kind of yields are we looking? What's kind of a good yield that you shoot for year in and year out?
Well, when we started out, the objective in 1985, the objective I had was to make 3 to 5 bushels the acre more on corn than on wheat. So, and we bested that. And so now we're looking more in the terms of 60 to 65 as a normal yield.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt.
And we have made as high as 120 bushels the acre in a field on that population, that 12,000 population.
Now, one year, 2002 was a really tough year in this area.
Yeah, we didn't harvest any corn. It's only a year we didn't harvest.
Only a year since you got started on corn.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you. So like I said, you're not making the corn companies as much money on the number of seeds that you're planting per acre. That's all right. But you're obviously using the new technology, Roundup Ready. Well, what about some of the drought tolerant stuff? That new technology.
Yeah, what we've had in the plot studies, that we always have a plot, and what we've seen is that our conventional hybrids have outdone the drought tolerant ones, or the ones that are supposed to be drought tolerant. And the reason we think that's the case is because the varieties that we've chosen for dry land are better suited to our climate and to where we live, whereas the drought tolerant ones generally are shorter season ones, or aren't varieties that are as well suited.
Right.
I think that's the difference.
Okay. Okay.
And they probably are better in some locations than the non-drought tolerant.
Yeah. So the difference in short-term tolerance and drought versus long-term
Yes,
drought, because you experienced long-term drought
Yes,
out during the summertime.
Yes.
Bill, we've got another segment to go.
Okay.
Don't run off. I've got to hold your hand here.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah,
run off.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
folks, we'll be right back after this work.
Tar Waters has what you need for all seasons for around the farm and home. Working, hunting, growing, feeding, snow removal, even fun for the kids. And a service department with experienced techs to help keep your equipment in top running condition. Tar Waters has a huge selection and the best prices. Tar Water Farm and Home, family owned and operated since 1978. They have what you need.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer. We're in Wallace County, and we're speaking with Bill Mai on Bill Mai's farm, southeast of Sharon Springs. Bill, like I said, you've been farming a while. You've seen a few things changes over time, such as plowing, one ways, and that sort of thing. So, but you're probably using some new technologies, and tell us a little bit about how you've kind of migrated to the new technologies, sprayer, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, the first technology we used was a yield monitor on the combine. That was in the early 90s. And I always watched that, and I liked that.
That was kind of an eye-opener, wasn't
Yes,
it? You would think, oh, this area of the field is not obviously not doing too well.
But we always, in varieties, we've always been able to, since the time we've irrigated corn, had a scale, we've always run every variety by, kept track of the number of rows, and then would run it over the scale.
Right.
So we've always kept track of individual varieties over the years. Now, as far as the steering technology and all of that, well, I'm not too bad about getting straight rows and doing a pretty good job.
You gentlemen are a little more mature than some of these young folks. You guys can put a straight row, but the auto steer is probably saving you a little time.
Yeah. But now that my son is the one who likes to get into it.
Right.
But now that I'm into it, where it helps at planting time, because I can pay more attention to what's going on, and getting onto the row is a lot easier, and then not having to deal with the markers and things like that. It does make planting quite a bit easier. And then you do have the field maps now that provide you a better record if you remember to plug them into the system, the variety changes.
Well, okay, let's talk about a sprayer. We were talking earlier before the show about sprayers. What is owning your own sprayer done for you?
Well, it made it so that we could spray when we need to spray. And we started in the mid-90s on owning a sprayer. It was probably one of the better pieces of equipment we ever owned, because it does allow us to spray whenever it needs to be done, not having to wait. And you can go out in the morning or in the evening when it's right.
As opposed to being on the list from the co-op or the commercial.
And then you have more flexibility on rates. You can apply a rate that's more appropriate than what maybe the label says.
Right.
And do it, but you do everything according to label. That you have to.
Right.
But still, you have some flexibility on rates.
Yeah. Bill, thank you. Again, we've got another segment to do, and folks, so we'll be right back after these words.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
This is the fast track to more jobs and America's energy independence. Advanced performance is here, now. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
I'm Jim Shroyer, host of That's My Farm, and we're back with Bill Nye in Wallace County. And Bill, you know, water is pretty darn important out in this area, or the lack thereof out in this area. And of course, residue management is big to save that water and catch any snow. So you used to have irrigation, lots of irrigation a number of years ago. What happened?
Well, we started in 1948, and I've kept track of the water levels of the wells over the years. By the mid-70s, it was becoming obvious that it wasn't going to something we couldn't keep doing. So that was when we started looking at ways to use less irrigation water with skip row irrigation. We tried all kinds of things. I even tried had plots where I did some of them without just with pre-irrigation and nothing else. Some of them with and different plant populations, all kinds of things. Then by 1985 is when we started working with the dryland corn, trying to grow dryland corn, because I'd seen some figures about how much dryland corn was grown in western Kansas, and why couldn't we do it. So I figured out.
I think I remember talking way back then about corn in your area.
Yes, so we started the experiment. The first year we did some soybeans, dryland, and then in the corn, and it worked well. But my philosophy at that time was you need about 3 feet of subsoil.
Right.
And then we came across 1988 or so, and we didn't have much rain, and we planted some anyway, made 88 bushels the acre. And but it was because of the rain in the summer.
Right.
So that made us believe that you do dryland corn just like you do wheat. You plant it and then hope Mother Nature takes care of you.
Okay, so you've basically gotten away from all your irrigation and you're basically total dryland now.
1999 was the last year.
Okay, so let's talk we've only got a couple seconds left. Talk a little bit about saving that residue, that wheat residue, and how important that is, to keep the ground in place.
You got to have the residue in order to help your soil temperatures and weed and anything that suppresses the things you don't want to happen.
Right. Well, this year we've had so much wind, blowing from the south, blowing from the north. If we didn't have that residue, I think we'd be back in the Dust Bowl days. What do you think?
I don't think there's any question about that.
Okay. So, Bill, thank you for surviving this little interview, and it's always good to see you. It's always good to be out in northwest Kansas and Wallace County.
And thanks, Jim, for all these years that you've put into doing the wheat tours, and it's really been a joy knowing you.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it as well. So, folks, thank you. That's all for this session of That's My Farm.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.